No need, if you want, you can just refer the notes. Okay. The questions will not be obviously from what we have done. And the questions we have done, they will not be there. The logic we have done, it will be there. So don't think that you are too smart, you will read all the questions we have done and then you will come. You can do it, obviously. Right. Okay, so we are talking about the structural characteristics of Weberian bureaucracy. Okay. In what way or in what dimensions do we view the bureaucracy as an organization? One as a structure, second as behavior, and the third as instrument. And also there is a fourth view, which is discretionist view. Okay. So out of all these, which one is visualized by the Weber? Structure and behavior. So structure we have already discussed. What are the features of or the structural features of the bureaucracy as conceived by Weber? What are those? Merit based. एक एक करके बताओ, ऐसे मत मेरिट बताओ. Legal rational first. Merit based. It is a career system, right? What is the meaning of a career service? Then what else? और भी बहुत सारी चीजें. It is a full-time occupation and not as a leisure activity or part-time. You cannot do it then. Right. It is a profession. Okay, so it has all the values of a profession. What is a profession? Profession requires huge amount of rigorous intellectual knowledge. Okay, professions have some ethical role in the society. Okay, professions come with special privileges given by the society. So, anything you do for livelihood cannot be a profession. Okay, the professions have a kind of social privilege and status attached to them. Public services, lawyers, doctors, engineers, okay, they are all coming under the profession, chartered accountants. So they are professionals. Professionals mean here that you owe something to the society. It is not only that you can work purely for your own interest. So in that regard, it is a career service. That means what? The public service is the motive and the civil servant is an important ingredient of the society. Okay. Then what other feature? Merit based hai. Positional authority hai, right? That means we accept the order from the position, not the person. Okay. If the order is received from the person, then what happens? If it is assumed that it is the person who is more powerful than the position, then what will happen? It will become a patrimonial system. Okay. So the impersonal character of the bureaucracy, that is its biggest strength. So the superior subordinate relationship is arranged in a hierarchy, but this relationship is not born out of any personal affiliation between them. Okay, it is purely impersonal in character. Okay. It also has certain other benefits like non-hereditary, right? Resources cannot be apportioned. Okay, you cannot use the resources for personal means. That means personal and public are purely separated. Fine. So likewise, various characteristics you can say, he identifies of the bureaucracy, and if all those characteristics are visible in a system, then we can say it is the ideal bureaucracy of Weber. But apart from the structure, there are behavioral characteristics also. Okay. Behavioral characteristics. Okay. There is a desired behavior, okay, or there is a preferred behavior of the bureaucrats. That means this structure has been designed in such a way that specific behaviors will be exhibited by the bureaucrats. Okay. So it is the structure which leads to a particular type of behavior. Okay, it is not the behavior, okay, which per se you can exhibit. Okay. Voluntarily you cannot exhibit that kind of behavior. You may not be willing to do so. So the structure creates that kind of compulsion that you will have to behave in a particular way. Okay. Why? Why do you need to behave in a particular way? And now if he assumed that there are behavioral characteristics, then why don't we call him as behavioralist? if you could consider that there is a specific set of behaviors which must be associated with this structure so that the net outcome is the most efficient or rational bureaucracy. So why can't we call him as the behavioralist? That is fine, but who are behavioralists? They also want to empirically study the behavior. Behavior is that part which is considered to be dynamic. So behavioralism may extend into the study of environment and organization both, and also the behavior of its members. Okay, and how the environment influences the behavior of members, how the behaviors influence the members or each other. Okay, all that is studied in behavioralism. So why Weber cannot be called as behavioralist? Okay, because what he is doing, he is creating a structure of behavior. Okay, the study of behavior or behavioralism comes with the idea that behaviors are spontaneous in nature. Okay, and then they have to be studied. So once you accept the spontaneity component of the behavior and then you are studying it, that means what? You are giving, or you at least you are accepting the creative potential of the individuals or the freedom to exercise their choices. At least you are assuming that, then you are studying it. So if I constrain you and I say now you behave and then I will study you, okay, what does it mean? That I am not allowing the behavior to be exhibited in freedom. Are you understanding this? So he cannot be called behavioralist because he is constraining the behavior. His idea is what? To structure the behavior also. Okay, that is why he is a pure structuralist. Okay, he is not concerned with the study of the independent behaviors of the individuals. He is only concerned with the exhibition of a particular set of behaviors which will be the outcome of the structure of this bureaucracy. Okay. So because this might be a very important question, that Weber, when perceived the behavior or behavioral characteristics of the bureaucracy, then why is he or he cannot be considered as a behavioralist? Okay. But he cannot be. Okay. So he identified certain behavioral characteristics. Okay, you first write a brief introduction, right? The behavioral characteristics. by emphasizing upon a specific type of structure which would by emphasizing upon specific type of structure which would exhibit all the characteristics of an ideal rational bureaucracy. An ideal rational bureaucracy. Weber necessarily creates an obligation on the members of the bureaucracy. Creates an obligation on the members of the bureaucracy to portray a specific set of behaviors also. Okay. Specific set of behaviors also. Okay. That is certain predefined behaviors are associated with the ideal structure. Certain predefined behaviors are associated with the ideal structure. We can call it लिख दो भाई We can call it the structure of behavior. We can call it the structure of behavior. Okay. So why was the need for creating a structure of behavior? Okay, so if you talk about religion, you talk about family value system, they also require a specific set of behaviors from you. They are as rigid as the Weberian bureaucracy. So any organization, be it family, be it society, be it religious system or political system or economic system, all of them want the actors or the participants to behave in a particular way so that the system sustains. Otherwise the system will not sustain. Otherwise the system will not be able to fulfill the desired ends. So his logic was not to constrain the people. Okay, his logic was not to exploit the members of the bureaucracy. His logic was not to control them, but his logic was to make them behave in a particular way so that the structure behaves in the desired way. Okay, so better or utility of the structure can only be achieved when the behaviors are exhibited. Are you getting? So the structure and behavior, okay, they overlap, okay, or somewhere they are symbiotic in relationship. Okay. So he creates this symbiotic relationship of the structure and behavior to achieve the ideal rational bureaucracy. Okay, what are the behavioral characteristics of bureaucracy? Neutrality. Okay, neutrality is one important behavioral characteristic to be exhibited by the bureaucrats. Okay, what is neutrality? Unbiased. When everything will be done through the rules, procedure, you cannot bypass anything, then obviously it will be neutral. Then why neutrality? Okay, neutrality can be political neutrality, procedural neutrality. Okay. So in two ways you can understand the neutrality as political neutrality. Political neutrality means that the public servants or the administration which is working under the structure of bureaucracy, okay, it must not have any affiliation, neither it must have any passionate interaction, neither it must be emotionally influenced by the ideology of party in power. Okay. So if the party, okay, or various political parties, they are part of the democratic functioning. So a party comes to the power, and if the ideology of that party is similar or closer to the ideology of the bureaucrat, then what will happen? Or if he somewhere, you can say, respects the ideology of the party in power, inspired by the ideology of party in power, then what will happen? Okay. Politicization will happen, no doubt, but what is the outcome? He may undermine the superior, he may undermine the procedure, he may undermine the rule of law, okay. He may also undermine the goal. Okay. So if you are accepting the ideology, that very moment you become biased. The moment you become biased, you are no more required for the bureaucracy. Okay. No more relevant to the bureaucracy. Because that very moment, the structure of the bureaucracy will not behave the way designed by the Weber. Are you getting? You will not be able to reap the benefit of that structure the moment somebody becomes biased in that structure. Are you getting this? Procedural neutrality. You let procedures do the work. Okay, you don't manipulate the procedures. So procedures should dominate your actions. Okay, you should not dominate the procedures. Okay, right? There are a number of implications of that. Okay, yesterday you people are doing some high-level intellectual discussion on the WhatsApp group, I think. So somebody is asking V for vendetta. को पबैट से कैसे लिंक किया जाए? Context of what is the V for vendetta? So who has seen V for vendetta? नहीं, I know. But who has seen V for vendetta? Any of you? You have seen? Okay. क्या है उसका मूवी का पर्पस? या उस मूवी का बैकग्राउंड क्या है? 2027 neo-fascist regime. Okay, that movie is an allegory. Allegory, you understand what is it? Moral. Fables होता है वो तो. Fables भी तो वही होते हैं ना, moral teachings using not necessarily the humans, but you're correct. Props are used in the allegory. Okay. So allegory is like what? Allegory is a symbolic of certain things. Okay, it may not be a real event. Okay. So V for Vendetta mein there is a revolutionary who wants to act or who wants to act against the established. Okay, established in what sense? The established is the government. So establishment may be neo-fascist, that is what the backdrop is. Okay, now neo-fascist does not mean fascist. Okay, even democratic governments can turn to be neo-fascist. Okay, if they are using certain means and symbolisms, okay, which somewhere tends to eliminate the transparency from the system. Okay. तो उसमें context के discussion में ये क्यों आ गया? What is context? Context is simply, if I say Weber's context. So if I am talking about neutrality, I have to know what Weber felt about neutrality. Otherwise, how will I understand what is neutrality? So context is the theoretical background, is the conceptual background of the theorist. Maybe social circumstances, maybe facts or values of that social circumstances which he uses to give meaning to the terms which he is using. Okay, so neutrality word can be used in any context. Okay. So I am a neutral person, but that does not mean I am a bureaucrat. But when I will use the word bureaucrat or neutral with respect to Weber, then I will assume it is about a bureaucrat. ठीक है, तो उसके ऊपर इतना डिबेट करके टाइम क्यों वेस्ट कर रहे हो अपना? It is fine. Okay, you must, but don't get into so much of intellectual discussion. Okay, intellect is one of the least preferred qualities in the bureaucracy. Okay, you don't know it today, you will know it once you are there. Least preferred quality of a bureaucrat is intellect, because intellect is a hindrance to decision making. Chester Bernard. Okay, qualities of a leader. सबसे नीचे रखता है intellectual ability. So he's saying this is in order. The least required is the intellectual ability. Fine. So don't become intellectual. Become pubite aspirants, that is much better. Okay. Fine. So there are political as procedural neutrality. Now you write. Okay. Neutrality is an important virtue. Neutrality is an important virtue in bureaucracy. Okay. It indicates towards a dispassionate behavior of its members. Okay. Neutrality can be considered in two aspects. One, the political neutrality. Okay. One, the political neutrality. That is, The bureaucrats must not be influenced by the ideology of the party in power. Must not be influenced by the ideology of the party in power. Even if he personally endorses it, even if he personally endorses it, its influence in his official behavior, is totally prohibited. Its influence in his official behavior is totally prohibited. As a neutral bureaucrat can only serve, or only a neutral bureaucrat, you can write, they're misplaced. Only a neutral bureaucrat can serve the public interest. Public interest with equity, equality, and in a fair manner. Next point: nepotism, favoritism, comma, class and caste nexus, etc., can be eliminated through the principle of neutrality. Okay, it is the biggest bulwark against the politicization of bureaucracy. Against the politicization of bureaucracy. So neutrality, the important aspect is one, that he must treat everyone equally, must not be influenced, and ultimately he must not be politicized. If he gets politicized, then what will happen? You cannot serve the public interest. So you will serve whose interest? The political interest. Okay, but we must use the term political interest with caution. Political interest may also mean the interest of the political system. And it is the duty of the bureaucrat to serve the political interest. What is wrong in serving the political interest? It must serve the political interest, but not the political party's interest. Are you understanding? So it must serve the interest of the government, not the party from which the government has been formed. Okay, this is a big problem in the multi-party democracies, okay, or even the bi-party systems also. Okay, in bi-party systems it is more explicit, because there the bureaucrat knows that, okay, if one will not come, the other will come to the power. At least in a multi-party system he may not be sure that who is coming to the power. Okay. But in a bi-party system you will find the allegiance of a section of bureaucrats towards one party ideology and the other section towards the another party ideology. So when the party comes, or particular party comes to the power, so most of the bureaucrats who are closer to them, they occupy the top post. So it becomes like a spoil system. Are you getting this point? Okay, so it behaves like a spoil system, even though it is a merit-based system. But because of excessive politicization, okay, the bureaucrat's preference for a particular politician or a particular political party, okay, it leads to the negation of the very basis or the very principle on which the bureaucracy has been created. Okay, bureaucracy has been developed to avoid the threats which the political system may have towards the public interest. The threats which are created by the politicians, by the politicization of the various organizations within the administration. So bureaucratic system itself acts as a check against the excessive politicization. So if all the institutions of administration are created bureaucratic, they automatically will evade any kind of politicization. Okay. But this does not happen. Why it does not happen? Why neutrality is desired, okay, but seldom found to be true in the administration? Neo-patrimonial tendencies are visible. The political system has obviously more power compared to the administration. Go back to the American Constitution. Hamilton, Jefferson, Madison's work, Federalist, number 10, number 72, number of Federalist. The historical evolution of the American Constitution, or the way American Constitution has functioned. So they have collected a kind of case study. Okay. So certain people were in favor of strong bureaucracy, others were in favor of strong political system. Okay. So if there is a strong bureaucracy, this system is an official system. Okay. The people may not be able to compete against the bureaucracy. So they require who or whom to exercise the power? The politicians. Okay. Against the politicians, people can compete. How? Through the democratic process of elections. They can control the politicians directly through the electoral process, but they cannot control the bureaucracy. Also, the bureaucracy's information base is so strong that an individual citizen or even groups of citizens cannot stand against them. Okay. Are you getting this? So even if you see the American tradition of democracy, there is a preference for more political power or political control over the administration. And as American democracy may be a benchmark for other democracies, so even in Indian democracy also you see a preference for a strong political system and obviously not a weak, but relatively weak bureaucracy. In the European context, it might not be same, except for, let's say, UK. So in France and Germany, we see strong bureaucracies, strong administration. Administration equally strong compared to the politics. Okay. In France, the bureaucrats are allowed to contest the elections. Okay. And if they lose, they can come back and again join the service. Okay. Why it can happen? Obviously because they have a very strong culture of bureaucratic discipline. Whereas in these democracies, in spite of bureaucracy, obviously enjoying powers and privileges, okay, there is no culture of discipline in the bureaucracy. Because political elements have what? What have they done? But they have misused the bureaucracy for their individual interests. The bureaucrats function on the mercy of the political systems or politicians. So he visualized the neutrality in that sense. That neutrality does not mean that the bureaucrat does not understand what is public interest, he is not working for the people, or he is not pro-poor or pro-people, but what? He is not influenced by the politics of the day. He can be influenced by the government or the political system. Okay. So politicization leads to various problems. Okay. Okay. Something which is a nexus, lobbying. Okay. Now if the political system and the bureaucracy has a nexus, then the political system, obviously because by virtue of the powers given by the Constitution, the political system has the power to transfer, suspend, promote, demote, dismiss, remove the bureaucrats from the service. Okay. Obviously on some rational ground, not at their whims and fancies. But even though that power is there, especially the power of transfer and power of suspension. Okay. Removal and dismissal may require obviously a very elaborate process. but power of suspension and power of transfer. Okay. Plus the power of appointment at the higher levels in the bureaucracy. So the top level bureaucratic posts, they are reserved for political appointments. Okay. For example, in India, the joint secretary and above posts, they are political posts. Political means not political in nature, but they are at the mercy of the political system. Okay. Because posts are few, there may be many competitors, and obviously the political consideration comes there. Okay. So there is a Prime Minister's Political Appointments Committee, okay, or Cabinet Committee on Appointments, headed by the Prime Minister. Okay. So that decides the appointment at those top posts. So what happens? It is very obvious that if the person is favoring the political party or somewhere is closer to the ideology of political party, then his appointment is more secure. Okay. So at the top level, when they come, their stakes also increase. Stakes are very high. Okay, they are maybe at the fag end of their career, so they want certain benefits, certain privileges. They don't want the political class to run after them. Okay. They don't want to be engaged in any inquiry, investigation. They don't want to tarnish their career because they also have certain stakes beyond or after the retirement. So politicization politicization is inevitable. But politicization will have number of problems, like policy formulation. So when we are saying that the bureaucrats may give information and advice to the political system because they are technically more competent in formulating the policy, then the bureaucrats may not give the fair advice. He may try to please the political master. In this way, the policy will suffer. Policy will suffer, the public interest will suffer. Huge financial burden on the government, and that too for a wrong policy. This might be reflected in the excess taxation, use of user charges, cess, something diverting a part of the fund or the budgetary support to certain other things. Okay. Rent-seeking behavior. So nexus is formed, various consequences. Lobbying, because the political system also is deriving some benefit out of the bureaucracy. And that is why it is appointing its own people in the bureaucracy. Okay, the visible face of the government is the bureaucracy. So how people perceive or how people feel about their governments is basically how people feel about their administration. Okay. So the interface which is there, that is the administration, it is the visible face of the government. How the government looks like to the people is actually the outcome of how the administration behaves with the people. Okay. So lobbying, now the political system also has certain needs. So if the bureaucracy is politicized, the political party will try to use the bureaucracy for grabbing the power or holding on to the power. Okay. Vote bank politics. So it will misuse the official machinery for the personal end. Okay, that is the vote bank politics. So what they will do, the bureaucrats will get more power now. Okay. So bureaucrat will start lobbying. Okay. Number of other actors may also come, because bureaucracy has lost its neutrality. So maybe some corporate, some media, some NGO, okay, they might also be associated with particular political parties, and through the bureaucracy now they will divert all the resources of the state towards the fulfillment of the goals of the political party. Okay. So they will influence the bureaucracy. Okay. In turn, they will influence the actor, and they will influence the political system. So it also undermines the basic constitutional value that the bureaucracy must be under the control of the political system. Now the bureaucracy is influencing the political system. Okay, because they have a need to win the elections or to grab the power. Now the bureaucrat is more capable than obviously the political system. So what he'll do? He'll start manipulating, or they will start manipulating the politicians or the political system. Okay. Various groups and factions will be formed within the bureaucracy. Now imagine the bureaucracy is not working like a single system. It is working like numerous centers of power have been created within the bureaucracy. Some with the government, some against the government, some with the lobbyists, okay, some against the lobbyists or something like this. So you see, the bureaucracy itself has been destructured. Are you understanding this? the ideal structure which Weber conceives, what will happen? Now this structure is destructured. It is not behaving as one unit. Okay. So multiple power centers created within the bureaucracy, which is totally against the principle of hierarchy, which is totally against the principle of unity of command, which is against the principle of centralization of power, whatever you conceive. So how will the society benefit from the structural or the ideal rational structure of the bureaucracy? Impossible. Cannot. So every group within the bureaucracy, there will be formation of various groups. Okay. And all of them will be acting for their own interest now. So there will be a kind of competition within the bureaucracy itself, competing for the power or certain benefits during this process. Okay. So the honest people, the people who are actually working for the public interest, what will happen? They might be eliminated from the system. They might leave the system. Okay, or they might lay dormant for a long period of time. So bureaucracy's ambitions will also increase. Now that is not required for a bureaucracy. The bureaucracy is purely an instrument. But this process will make it an institution. Are you understanding this? So through this process, the bureaucracy will start turning into an institution, because it will realize that now I can exercise power. I know how fragile this political system is. So I will try to invade into the political system, and I will try to now influence the policies, laws, legislations, whatever, according to now our requirements or our benefits. So many corporates may align with the bureaucracy, and they may influence the bureaucracy, okay, to influence the political system to create a particular type of policy or a law. Okay. This is what was done by the Reliance. In one generation, you cannot become a 1.5 lakh crore company. Impossible. It is humanly impossible. So when Dhirubhai Ambani died, the Reliance was almost a 90,000 or 1 lakh crore company. Now it is more than that. Okay. But in one generation, you are creating a 1 lakh crore company. How is it possible? That means what? That all the government tenders, 90% of the government tenders would have gone to you. Is it or not? Okay. Reliance was one of the pioneer companies, okay, to promote the briefcase politics in India. Okay, or briefcase politicians. There are many today also. The epitome of the briefcase politician is Ahmed Patel. Have you heard his name? Gujarat में राज्य सभा इलेक्शन में अभी कंट्रोवर्सी था. And the other was the Mahajan, Pramod Mahajan. Okay, so they were the pioneers of this briefcase politics. Today also there is Gadkari, the briefcase politician. Okay. So this will, okay, it is obvious that the corporates, MNCs, okay, number of external agents might enter into the political and the administrative system. Okay, ultimately they are elitist in nature. So Weber never conceives of bureaucracy as an elite system. Bureaucracy is a mass system, because it is going to serve the society equally without any biasness. So it is a mass system, it is not an elite system. Are you understanding this difference? It is not an elite bureaucracy which the Weber conceives. Weber conceives a mass bureaucracy which caters to the needs of the mass democracies, not for a particular class, not for a particular section, but for the entire society. So it is the system which is representation of the entire society, its needs and aspiration. It does not come with the expressed intention of serving some particular sections or groups in the society. Okay, that is why neutrality is desired. Okay. So nexus formation, lobbying, politicization, and obviously the corruption will increase. Okay. So neutrality is desired. Okay. But what happens if for a long time the bureaucracy remains neutral? Neutral in the sense that it does not have anything to do with the emotions, with the ideology, with the philosophical aspect. It is merely acting as an instrument. So what happens after a long period of time? If you behave this way, if you just feel that you have to come to the class and like a robot you have to write and then go back. So you'll go to the UPSC exam and you'll look for somebody, bolo bhai, kya likhna hai? But this may be 3, 4, 5 months, not more than that. But imagine somebody doing it for 10, 20, 30 years in his life. So the person becomes like robotic in nature. So the neutrality means that you are no more concerned with what is happening in the society, what is the political value system, what is the political culture, what politics or political issues are going on. You are not concerned with that. You enter into the machine, operate it, shut it down, come back. Again you enter, operate it, shut it down, come back. Again, now going on and on. Okay. But this is paradoxical because you have to serve everyone equally, so you need not be influenced by emotions and values. So the more empirical you are, the more rational you are. So the moment you start acting on normative considerations, okay, or subjective value system, that very moment you may not serve everyone equally. So it is needed for you to remain neutral. But for acting as neutral for a long period of time, okay, what happens? It influences your your attitude, your mental patterns, okay, your ability to comprehend things, okay, all of them, they change. Okay, they are, what you can say, they are customized in a particular way because the bureaucracy has preference for that kind of attitude. Okay, and obviously when your psychological changes take place, you internally also change. So your personal and public behavior is not much different now. Almost 50% of your day you are investing in the bureaucracy. So your official behaviors actually turns into your personal or influences your personal behavior also. Okay. So you become what kind of bureaucrat? Highly methodical, running after the details, okay, because your work is mostly related to facts, information. Even you might be making decisions, no doubt, okay, but they are all based on some predefined rules and procedures. Okay. So neither you have to consider the goals or values of the society because you are not setting the goals, you are only achieving the goals. Okay. So this, okay, leads to a term which is used, that the bureaucrats the soul is lost, it is eliminated. They become mere a factor in achieving the goals. Something like what Taylor conceived of the workers. The same way the neutrality does it to the bureaucrats. So parceling out of the soul. Emotions, passions, values, okay, they are all eliminated over the time. Okay, it might not be a sudden process. Okay, but as it is desired, it is appreciated, it is rewarded in the system, so everybody tends to be like that, slowly and slowly. Okay, so the more bureaucratized you are, more neutral you are, the more better a bureaucrat you become. Fine. So this leads to what? Okay, this leads to the alienation of the bureaucrats from their own system. Okay. It may also, you can say, eliminate any kind of emotional link with the society. So the bureaucracy does not have now any link, emotional link with the society. It is merely doing because it has been defined. So you are poor, you are rich, you are weak, you are old, it doesn't matter to the bureaucracy. Okay. It is not interested in the individual concerns. It is only trying to serve the mass needs, and it is doing so. Okay. So what?
Recent death of Jharkhand girl due to PTS, not linked with other.
You could say many instances are there. By people, number of farmers did not receive their pension. The Patwari, the BDO, or who is that? The village level officers. Okay, they are asking for bribe to give pension to the people who are almost on the verge of dying. So you see, the humanitarian considerations are eliminated from the system. So it becomes something like, okay, people get alienated. Ultimately, the process of dehumanization. So it dehumanizes the entire bureaucracy. The humanistic values, okay, the emotional considerations are considered hindrances to the functioning of the bureaucracy. Understanding this? So you will be dehumanized after some time. In fact, we all get dehumanized. Okay. So it is very logical that over the years and years of being or working within the system, okay, you lose that, what we can say, the human values. Okay. Ultimately, because of all this, what happens? We get a kind of bureaucracy which is simply a machine or simply a means. Now it has nothing to understand or it has nothing to think about the goal it is pursuing. Poverty hai, it's okay, there is a method. Disaster hai, okay, method. Okay, people have died, okay, there is a method. Communalism hai, there is a method, finish. So for him, there is no difference between constructing a highway and protecting the people in a communal riot. Okay, it simply becomes a procedure. Okay, that is known as displacement of goal. Okay, when we will criticize the bureaucracy, Robert Merton, Warnott, number of theorists they have talked about displacement of goal. Okay, that he is obsessed with the means. Procedure, we have to follow it. What is the goal? So ultimately, the procedure becomes more important for him than what he is serving. Okay, this is also because the bureaucracy is a highly structural organization. Superior-subordinate relationship is very rigid and controlled. So he does not want to take any initiative where he will be personally held liable for that. He is only doing what the organization is saying. So loses his creativity, his freedom, and deliberately does it because he does not want to be reprimanded, does not want to be punished. Okay, he wants to get into the good books of the superiors or the political masters, so he keeps behaving that way. Are you getting? So neutrality has numerous consequences. Okay, it is not just getting politicized. So at the individual level, at the personal level, at the humanistic level, and also at the level of the system, okay, it has numerous influences. Okay. No doubt, politicization of bureaucracy is not desirable, but yes, if we talk about the people, the society, so bureaucracy must be what? People-centered. It might not be politics-centered. Okay. So obviously it requires to be humanistic in nature, it requires to be emotional in nature, then only it can understand the problems of the society. So how can they give an advice to the politicians for making a good welfare policy if they don't understand what is welfare? If they don't empathize with the poor, they might not come up with a good policy of poverty. Are you understanding? Fine, now you're right. So Indira Gandhi was there. Indira Gandhi said that we don't want a neutral bureaucrat. A neutral bureaucrat eventually gets eliminated from his value system, from the cultural perspective, from the historical goals which we are pursuing, the democratic ideals, no more relevant for a neutral bureaucrat. Okay. Replace one by the other, it doesn't matter. So what is the use of conducting all this exam? When you can even use a rickshawala and say, do it. Okay. And he might be able to achieve it, it's okay. When 30 years when they don't have to do anything, then you can put anybody there. Is it so? Their intellectual ability is also at work. Okay. But at the lower levels of the organization, it is very difficult. You are simply following the procedure. Okay. Higher levels, you might become creative. Okay. So Indira Gandhi said that, okay, we don't want this. Okay, we may require a committed. Okay, we require a committed bureaucracy. And what is the committed bureaucracy? Now, committed bureaucracy is the opposite of neutral bureaucracy. Okay. But here the perception of Indira Gandhi was that neutrality was here something non-humanistic in nature. It was against the sensitivity towards the society. When she referred to the committed, she is not talking about commitment to the political system or political party. She is talking about commitment to the goals of the society, become society centric. Okay. But what she did herself was otherwise. Okay. Obviously she wanted a bureaucracy committed to her. Okay. Her and Sanjay Gandhi. Okay. So you can say that, okay, obviously theoretically she meant was that she wanted a bureaucracy which is going to serve the needs of the society with passion, with motivation, with emotion, with empathy. Okay. Not the politician. But our Indian bureaucrats took it other way. Okay. They learnt it now and it is very difficult for them to unlearn it. Okay. If you have seen the videos of the UP government in the Samajwadi regime, okay, so the IG, SP, DSP touching the feet of the politician. Okay. There is a rule, there is a conduct that you cannot touch the feet of even your elder in the uniform. Okay. If you are in uniform, you should not touch the feet of anybody. Okay. But they are publicly touching the feet of the politician. Okay. Okay. And this is visible in Tamil Nadu also. So UP and Tamil Nadu, very much visible. Tamil Nadu is also highly politicized bureaucracy. So you can say that the concept of committed bureaucracy comes as a counter to the neutral bureaucracy or the dysfunctions of the neutral bureaucracy. Okay. But neutrality is still desirable. Okay. Neutrality cannot be considered as a threat to the public interest. Why? Because in democracies, neutrality will only protect the interest of the people from the entrenched interest of the politicians. But when we view neutrality at the personal level, at the individual level, the behavioral level of the bureaucrat, okay, maybe over the time he becomes more mechanized. So that is why we can criticize it. Okay. But as a behavioral value or trait associated with a good functioning of the bureaucracy, neutrality is always desirable. Are you getting this? So you might get questions on number of dimensions. Okay, that neutrality is not desirable. Then this perspective will come. Okay. Neutrality is desirable. Okay. Then that perspective will come. Lobbying, politicization is not possible, biasness is not there, fairness in serving the society. Okay. It may also come that instead of neutrality we need a committed bureaucracy. Okay. Then again the dysfunctions of the neutrality, okay, should or can be overcome by the commitment of the bureaucracy. But commitment not to the political system or political party but to the society. Commitment to the government, not to the Prime Minister individually. Okay. So variety of questions may be asked. Okay. Now how do you ensure that neutrality is there? Okay, first you write, then we'll discuss.
So, when Weber is conceiving of neutrality, is he also talking about value neutrality?
Yeah, obviously that is the logic.
Even constitutional value?
No, he is obviously supposed to work under the constitutional value system. So constitutional value system is politically defined, not administratively defined. So in that way he is neutral. But those values are not conceived by the bureaucrat, they are conceived by the political system. Okay. But constitution is already a result of a rational process, representative. But when a party is influencing the bureaucracy or the government is influencing the bureaucracy, so we may say government may be influencing the bureaucracy for achieving the ends of the government. But government is coming from a party. Party is formed on ideology. So he is talking about that neutrality here also and neutrality there also. By within taking the inputs and by delivering the outputs. Both ways you should be neutral. Okay, your functions, actions should not be influenced by religion, culture, values and all. Okay, so it is not neutral to the constitutional values. Why? Because already it is being pre-decided by the political system. So when the goal is decided, that goal is based on constitutional value. Now bureaucracy has nothing to do with the goal, he has to do with the end. With the means of achieving the goal. So neutral. Okay. Value neutrality means his personal values should not be there. Political values or the political party's values should not be there. Okay. Otherwise he may be humanitarian in nature. Okay, but humanitarian considerations should not be used while delivering the services or the products. It should not be. Otherwise what will happen? No, then why the judge will say there is a different law for the poor and different law for the rich? But circumstances cannot become the basis of delivery of services because it has to be generalized. Okay, bureaucracy is a generalized system, mass system. If it becomes humanitarian, then every individual circumstance will be different. So how is bureaucracy going to act? If it starts considering every individual, every group, every community, okay, and its values in the basis of service delivery, how is it possible? Where you are trying to serve the average needs of the society, not the personalized needs of the society. Okay. Okay, right. Right. Political neutrality. See, procedural neutrality will have these drawbacks, what we discussed. Political neutrality, okay. If the neutrality is undermined, but this was the concern of the Wilson or not when he conceives of dichotomy. So the direct consequence of neutrality is the dichotomy, or of the dichotomy is the neutrality. Okay. If the neutrality is undermined, then it will create aberrations in the functioning of bureaucracy. Aberrations in the functioning of bureaucracy. Like number one, right? Politicization of the bureaucracy. Okay, within this you write. Right. Since the evolution of public administration as a separate discipline, the administration has been conceived of a neutral actor, comma, an instrument serving the political ends with a missionary zeal, and at the same time detached from the goals themselves. The Wilsonian dichotomy is the analytical manifestation of the administration being a separate entity, from the dysfunctionalities of the politics. The common undercurrent between the Weber's concept of political neutrality and the Wilson's endorsement of dichotomy is quite conspicuous. What is the meaning? Apparent, obvious, visible. Because UPSC has the habit of using such terms in PubAd. Okay, so it is quite conspicuous. So we can say that, okay, what Weber conceives 30 years later is what the Wilson had conceived 30 years before. So dichotomy is very much the idea, okay, which might be based on these principles. So neutrality also desires depoliticization. The dichotomy also desires depoliticization. Okay. Now you write. Here, the term neutrality, likho bhaiya. Here the term neutrality is with reference to non-political behavior of the bureaucrats. They do not have stake in vote bank politics. They do not have stake in vote bank politics, comma. They do not have stake in vote bank politics, comma. Neither they are competing for the state's power. Nor nor they are ideologically connected to the communities. They are officials, professionally trained, for implementing the techniques of administration. If, now see the logic, if it is not neutral, then what will happen? All this will happen. They will compete for power. They will be ideologically connected to the community and the society. Okay, they will have a stake in the state's power. Okay, now what will happen then? So their behavior will be totally against what is desirable by the bureaucrat. Okay. Neutrality would also ensure bureaucrats' commitment to the rule of law and serving everyone equally. Second, लिखिए. So one was the politicization, the second, right. Second point. Transformation of bureaucracy from an instrument to institution. From an instrument to institution. Okay. Absence of neutrality would result in bureaucrats getting involved in lobbying, power brokering, wheeling and dealing. Wheeling dealing नहीं सुना? Wheeling dealing नहीं सुना? Horse trading सुना है? They become active for their own interest. Wheeling, dealing, etc., where their own interests would become paramount. Bribery, next, bribery, corruption, nepotism, favoritism, would become accepted conduct. So they will desire more to be like this than that way. So because this is going to eventually benefit them, so they will follow all these things. Okay, ultimately what will happen? The public interest would be undermined. Okay, third point likhiye. Absence of neutrality would promote neo-patrimonial tendencies. Absence of neutrality would promote neo-patrimonial tendencies. Neo-patrimonial tendencies where bureaucracy would become an internal political arena. When we'll study policy formulation, we'll understand the actual process. Internal political arena where numerous groups competing for power within the bureaucracy, where numerous groups competing for power within the bureaucracy would emerge. So what will happen now? Conflict hoga. So what will happen if they will compete with each other? वो तो हो जाएगा और क्या होगा? It would be easy for the political elements to influence them. When they are internally fractured, so what will happen? Now they are more vulnerable. So they may not work as a system. In fact, they may work as pawns or puppets of certain groups within the political system. One will be from the opposition party, one will be from the corporates and the media, one will be from the party in power. Now what will happen? The bureaucracy seems like a legislature. Is it not? So that is not the concept of Weber. They are professional, trained people who need to do certain things, okay, with obviously motivation towards the performance and efficiency. So there will be internal competition with the bureaucracy. Okay, this will lead to, you must have heard this term, coterie formation, coterization. What is it? Small group of people, you are correct. For what purpose? Rival power centers. Okay, so there will emerge out of this competition. What will happen? There will emerge a powerful elite group which may be nearer to the most powerful in the political system. Okay. So this will have eventually consequences for the performance of bureaucracy, because what will happen? Now once you emerge powerful and other members of the bureaucracy know that okay, he is closer, he is the blue-eyed boy of the Prime Minister, then what happens now? No whistle blowing, okay, no revolt against corruption. Internal democracy obviously is not there in the bureaucracy, but even though the certain people who are working, okay, honestly for the pursuit of public interest, okay, they will also, their initiative will also be reduced because their power is eliminated into the system. But the net power is coming into the hands of a elite group of bureaucrats. So they create what? They create a kind of structure at the top level where they do not let anybody else come into that structure. Okay. This was visualized by a person, okay, obviously, while criticizing the bureaucracy. Okay. Robert Michels. Okay, he's saying iron law of oligarchy. Okay. A kind of oligarchic system develops. Okay. Few people acquire the power within the bureaucracy and they do not let the others within the bureaucracy to either get promoted or acquire the higher post in the bureaucracy or the important post within the bureaucracy. So bureaucracy itself is working like a lobbyist. Okay. Are you understanding this? Okay. So out of thousands and thousands of bureaucrats who are working within the system, few become so powerful that they do not let others do what they want. Because they have political patronage. And after due competition which has taken place within them, okay, the others have realized that it is impossible for us to break this ceiling which they have created. The power ceiling they have developed, it is impossible now. So what? We must accept what we are doing. Okay. So there will be no protest within the bureaucracy. Okay. Even though the system does not want the protest, but at least, okay, there will be no, okay, pursuit of honest or public interest because they know that it is not going to happen. So many of the honest bureaucrats, they will go in hibernation. They will become dormant. Till the time probably this process or this political party is out of the power, till that time what will they will go for hibernation. So now it will be easy for them to do whatever they want. Okay, at least a subordinate, honest subordinate is a resistance to a dishonest superior. Is it or not? That will not happen. Even he may not stop the superior, but at least he can resist it. He can delay. Okay, but that is not going to happen here because there will emerge a powerful group after due conflict and it will assert its authority over rest of the bureaucracy, middle levels and lower levels. Oh, have you understood this? नहीं समझ गए? और तो नहीं पूछो कुछ इसके बाद इससे कुछ पूछना नहीं पूछना this process, you want to ask something, whether this process is clear? Okay. So because I am going to use the term iron law of oligarchy used by Robert Michels. Right. Right. The internal competition for power will result in the emergence of one powerful group within the bureaucracy. Emergence of one powerful group within the bureaucracy. Within the bureaucracy due to its proximity with the power center. This group would not let the others within the system to have access to important positions within the bureaucracy. In fact, they will create they will create a power ceiling beyond which the other bureaucrats may not be willing to act. Okay. This eliminates the honest and public-spirited public servants. Honest and public-spirited public servants from having any say in the policy formulation, or you can underline whistleblowing or whistleblow. The whistleblow against the corrupt practices within the system. So now what happens? The system acts like the personal instrument of the politician or the people in politics. Okay, it becomes the personal instrument of the politician or people in politics. Okay, this phenomena has been studied by Michael Crozier. Phenomena has been studied by Robert Michels. Crozier will study once we criticize. When studied by Robert Michels as an law of oligarchy. Iron law of oligarchy. अब कुछ पूछना है? क्यों नहीं रोक सकता? विजल ब्लो किसको करोगे जब तुम्हारे सुनने वाला ही नहीं है कोई, ना एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव सिस्टम हायरार्की में ना पॉलिटिकल सिस्टम में. So they will what? They will create such nexus of power. Media, corporates, maybe judicial system, maybe the entire political class. Okay, so ये phenomena इतना easy नहीं है ना. So you are, when compared to them, okay, you are not having any access to any power system. They will be prevalent everywhere. Okay. So your 2G scam, your coal scam, how is it possible? Okay. If there were internally groups or competitor groups or rival groups within the bureaucracy who would have contested these kind of decisions, then it would not have happened. Okay, so you become absolute as far as the exercise or misuse of power is concerned. विजिल ब्लो को रोकना और विजिल ब्लो ना होने देना, इन दोनों में फर्क है ना. वो ऐसा कोई सिचुएशन आने ही नहीं देंगे कि विजिल ब्लो हो पाए. ओके, सो आरटीआई एक्टिविस्ट मरने लगे तो लोग आरटीआई एक्टिविस्ट बनना छोड़ दिया लोगों ने, खत्म. दैट इज हाउ इट हैपेंस. ओके, सो दीज काइंड ऑफ थिंग्स. Okay, or he studied these kind of processes within the political parties. Europe की political parties he studied, the Robert Michels. Okay, so he said the bureaucracy also functions like an iron law of oligarchy, and this is also visible in any other system which is bureaucratic in nature. So if you create a political party as a bureaucratic structure, having all the features of what Weber says. Okay. So he's saying if the political party is also structured as a bureaucracy, even in the political party it is visible that this law operates. Okay. And more or less, most of the bureaucracies are influenced by this law. Okay. What is this law? That the power gets concentrated into the hands of few, who do not let others or any system which is not in the favor of these people to have access to the power. So the others become merely puppets in the hands of these people. Now the power should have been actually in the political system, but now it extends to the political system plus that level of the bureaucracy which is part of this oligarchic system. Are you understanding? So it may include judiciary, it may include corporates, it may include other actors also, but all will function through this oligarchic bureaucracy. Okay. So any access to political power only through these people. Who are these people? They are the elites within the bureaucracy. Okay. So when Vajpayee was the prime minister, or for that matter other prime ministers, there emerged certain groups of bureaucrats who are very powerful. Okay, and even the ministers and the political class has to go through them to get things done. The ministers, the cabinet ministers had to meet Brijesh Mishra if they wanted to do certain things. Because Brijesh Mishra was so close to the prime minister that on the behalf of prime minister, okay, he could act. More powerful than the cabinet colleagues of the prime minister. Today also, there are certain people, Nipen Mishra, Doval, okay, and likewise there are so many other people who may be considered as forming an oligarchic nexus or a group, even though maybe for good purpose. But the phenomena itself is not correct. It might serve good ends, but the process is not right. Okay, so the free and fair working of the bureaucracy is hampered because of this. Lower level bureaucracy, the middle level bureaucracy, highly demotivated and frustrated. So it may have so many other psychological consequences for the bureaucracy. Fine. So neutrality would be no doubt desirable for political performance, for policy success, and also for the efficient working of the bureaucracy. But neutrality will not come without a price. Okay, give a heading, dysfunctions of neutrality. Okay. Neutrality, even though desirable, may have some negative impacts which may snowball. You understand snowball? Which may snowball into bigger consequences. Snowballing किया? वो snowballing नहीं. Size, correct. पेंगुइन बनाया होगा कुछ, है ना, गए होगे बर्फ में घूमने, ठीक है. So it is saying that, but it is having some little negatives, but what happens, it snowballs into bigger consequences. ठीक है, अगर उसको रोका नहीं गया या उन negatives को हटाया नहीं गया, तो obviously it will create bigger problems for the bureaucracy. Okay, लिखिए. For example, the procedural neutrality. For example, the procedural neutrality eliminates any scope of, for example, the procedural neutrality eliminates any scope of creative freedom. Any scope of creative freedom. bureaucrats become merely a factor of production, just like Taylor, or the conceived by Taylor, factor of production. It is obvious that any human being would need to exercise his creative freedom and intellectual discretion, to have a motivating experience, at his workplace. But this does not happen in bureaucracy. Neutrality detaches the bureaucrats from their own creative potential, and also the other value considerations, like emotions, culture, societal issues, etc. This phenomena results in parceling out of soul. Or dehumanization process. Or alienation. So the very purpose of having a neutral structure was that people should not bring their emotions and values into the system. And also, the assumption that people do not need them. Both the assumptions are there. That the performance of the bureaucracy can only be increased when people do not bring their subjective considerations. And also the assumption that people, while working in the bureaucracy, or for that matter any rational structure, do not require these things. Are you understanding this? So rationality may come in conflict with the values and emotions. So no rational structure, whether Gulick and Harvick or Taylor or Fayol, whosoever is talking about, none of them want or none of them assume that there is a need for these things for the performance of the system. So people do not need them. People are merely economic beings, so they will fulfill their economic ends and they will go. Are you understanding? So both the considerations are there, similar like what others have perceived, that people do not require them also, and it is also not beneficial to the system. So this leads to the dehumanization process. Dehumanization process is not a simple process. It creates some pathological tendencies within the bureaucracy. Pathological means diseased state of mind. Maybe actions and behavior, perceptions, they change. So you must have seen some official notices, okay, official communications which come. How are they written? They are so complicated, okay, that even an educated person cannot understand them. Why they do so? Because they want to hide the real intention behind the complicated language. Okay, this is known as the devil in the details. Okay. Obviously you cannot understand it, okay, and so you accept it, and when you accept it, then you come to know that, okay, what was the real intention behind this kind of circumlocution which has been done by the bureaucracy. But that becomes their nature. Okay. So they will go after, or everything, every phenomena, they will scrutinize in detail. Then they will look for the facts. Okay. Then they will try to arrange these facts. Then they will do something else, something else. So they will follow all the procedures. Why? Because they don't want to get personally involved. Okay. That is the requirement of the system also, and probably that is what they want also. So they don't want to be personally liable for anything, so they don't want to engage in anything. And also the system will not reward them for any personal act of heroism or any personal act of creativity, so that is why they don't want to do it. Okay, because their system does not incentivize it. In fact, system demotivates the creativity of the people. Okay. And that is how the structure can be established. Okay. So it dehumanizes, so it relates or creates some pathological tendencies. Okay, right. This dehumanization results in pathological tendencies within the bureaucrats, results in pathological tendencies within the bureaucrats. Within the bureaucrats, click here. Right. Warnock and Devi have classified this as occupational psychosis, or bureaupathology. Warnock and Devi, and so many other people are there, but they are quite prominent. Warnock and Devi have classified this as occupational psychosis or bureaupathology. Occupational psychosis means psychosis is like a fear, a kind of mental state. Okay. So you develop a kind of mental state, a kind of perception towards certain things, prejudices. Okay. Now it becomes like a disease state. Okay. Or bureaupathology. So it's saying these dysfunctionalities of, or the behavioral dysfunctionalities of the bureaucrats. Okay. So they have identified this as a disease. Okay. Like Nicholas Henry, he is analyzing a typical bureaucrat and he is saying that he will look busy without work. He will generally come late, leave early, okay, and he will always have a heightened sense of importance. Okay, that means he will feel bad if he goes somewhere and people don't recognize him, or if there is no formal system working with him. Okay, people not giving respect to him within the system. Okay, or for that matter, his power is not visible within the system. So he will be demotivated because he has developed that kind of psychosis that he should be treated in a particular way. Okay. As you see, the bureaucracies or the bureaucratic structures were visible, or they were visible in the ideal form in the military systems, hierarchical systems. Okay, so you can understand how the most of the military officers behave once they retire. So the place where I come from, okay, like it is the hub of the military officials, or most of the retired officials of military, they generally come and settle there, Dehradun. Okay. So you will find number of instances where you can understand their bureaupathologies. So two colonels were fighting once in my colony because the leaves from the tree of one of the colonel's house was falling into the house of the other colonel. So they took out their guns for this purpose. Okay. They started with a little conflict and slowly they brought out their guns. So can you imagine? Okay, and also the kind of discipline that they experience within the system, they don't see the same discipline outside. Same happens with the bureaucracy. The kind of privilege and the status they enjoy within the system, once they are out of the system, or if that is withdrawn by any means, by the political system or the political masters, then what happens? If they are sent to some insignificant post, so that becomes a big issue for them. Okay. So they may not enjoy just because they are occupying an insignificant post and their counterpart is earning huge money. So they will be dissatisfied with this only. Okay. So there is something like a sense of power and privilege and status associated with them. Okay, and they tend to behave that way only throughout their lives. And this, he is saying, is extending to the personal domain also. Okay. So in the common functions or marriages, wherever they will go, so he will not behave like the member of family, he will behave like collector only, collector even. Okay. Unless he comes across the politician. Okay. Till that time he assumes himself to be the most privileged person anywhere. Okay. So they are saying that it is like a bureaupathology, it is a disease and it is impossible to come out of this psychosis. So dehumanization process may create some type of pathological disturbances within the bureaucrats. Okay. And it will be carried forward lifelong, cannot be eliminated. Okay. Right. Obsession, next line. Obsession with procedures. Obsession with procedures also results in displacement of goals. Displacement of goals as visualized by displacement of goals as visualized by displacement of goals as visualized by Merton Robert Merton, you can write the name if you want. Robert Merton, but Merton is enough if you write. Merton and Selznick. Merton and Selznick. As visualized by Merton, displacement of goal visualized by Merton and Selznick. So they are saying because they become obsessed with procedures, they eventually lose touch with the goals. Okay, so their primary purpose remains the observance of rules and regulations and nothing to do with the goals. So once they are detached with the goals, they also lose the sense of purpose. Okay, because they barely become an organic robots. A term which is used, organic automatons. Taylor conceives of the workers as organic automatons. Okay. Who understand their interest, who knows their interest, but their interest is only money. And they are voluntarily ready to comply with this type of structure, okay, because they want to serve their economic interest. Okay. So these thinkers, they don't say that people do not think, okay, but they think only in terms of black and white, according to them. If this happens, it is good for me. If does not happen, this is bad for me. What is good for them? Money, material benefit. Are you understanding this? So, if he loses a sense of control or a sense of emotional attachment with the goal he is pursuing, a sense of motivation to the public interest, then what happens? It hardly matters for him what is happening as a consequence of the goals, whether the goals are being fulfilled or it doesn't matter to me. My purpose is to comply with the rules and somehow, okay, portray that everything has been followed. This is what happens when the corruption takes place. So all the account books are managed very well, everything is good on paper, that means the procedure needs to be followed. Or at least it must be projected that procedures have been followed. So if they attach themselves to the purpose, then obviously they will realize that if they are doing this corruption, or they are doing corruption in the health and education, or for that matter in the disaster rehabilitation, then it is going to have grave consequences for them. And not only for the society, for them also. So if they give an approval based on the wrong project report for a dam or for the construction of a nuclear facility, what is happening? This is going to adversely affect them also. Or if they mellow down the standards of environmental conservation, okay, what is going to happen? Eventually it is going to affect the society, but they do not, or they are not able to comprehend it. They don't think of themselves as being anywhere part of that goal. Okay. In fact, to protect or preserve their power and stability, they can go to any extent. Are you getting this point? Okay. Displacement of goals. Displacement of goals is visible in the form of detachment. In the form of detachment towards the needs of the society. Needs of the society. Bureaucrats are more concerned with following the rules and regulations comma, updating and maintaining records, excessive documentation, and somehow developing a sense of procedural efficiency. But what is the outcome? What is the outcome? How the outcome will affect the society? Etc. is no more the consideration of bureaucracy. Okay. Like clause of, I'm writing the name. Like clause of. Like clause of says that bureaucracy has procedural rationality. Clause of says that bureaucracy has procedural rationality but no systemic rationality. But no systemic rationality. Systemic rationality here means that what is the purpose, what is the wider contribution of bureaucracy in the society? It has nothing to do with that. It doesn't consider itself as part of the bigger political process or bigger process of societal development. It doesn't consider it that way. It detaches itself from there. Unless the bureaucracy assumes that it is part of the social development or the social pursuit of social prosperity or social progress, till that time its role will be detached mostly into the forms of files, information, data, facts, procedures, rules, regulations. Okay. So they don't consider themselves to be socially embedded into the process of development. Okay, they merely treat themselves also as machines or instruments of the delivery of service, nothing else. So it has huge repercussions. If you see, most of the countries, the bureaucracies in the developing countries, okay, most of the countries in the, or you can say in the societies which are little traditional in nature, okay, not industrially developed, okay, all those countries are experiencing this kind of bureaucracy. Because here the bureaucracy is coming from a particular economic and social background and they want to fulfill their ends. Okay. They are highly nervous or anxious of losing their jobs, of inquiry, of political rivalry, political competition, and so many things. They are concerned with those things. They don't consider themselves as agents of change of the society. Okay. So they don't have the mindset of change. They are more concerned with regulation, control, policing, regulation, or what you can say, controlling the crime and this, and they are mostly concerned with that. So the developmental policies fail because these people do not have developmental orientation. They are treating themselves as the instruments of oppression of the state, simply. Okay. So if you say mechanical observance of rules, okay, without having any logic or any substance behind that. It is being done because it has to be done. Okay. Sometimes that is also important, but obviously most of the times it is not necessary. Filling the forms, okay, following the protocols. Okay, so you go to any RTO office or a licensing authority, you will find out that, okay, what problems are there, how they have bureaucratized the entire process. Don't sign with black pen, sign with blue pen. Okay. You see the photocopy is not clear. So you'll give the photograph, is it you? Okay. So see there, what is the tendency? Their tendency is obstructing the service. Okay. So that tendency is not to expedite the service, but they want to obstruct the service. Why? Because they are concerned with procedure. ये होना चाहिए, ये होना चाहिए, होना चाहिए. Ultimately somebody gets the license or not, it is not our concern. So even if you tell them, okay, we have some urgency, kindly issue me this. So government will have to issue a guideline that if people require the service urgently, kindly provide them within this time frame, an extra fee will be charged. Then they will follow it. But voluntarily, they will not do it. Because there is no interest served. So they don't consider the public interest as their own interest. That is the process of dehumanization. Have you understood this much? Okay, write a question. Okay. Optional exam is tomorrow. Okay, so tomorrow we'll not have the class. We'll have class on Monday, but Sunday I will be here when you write the test. So if we get a time, we can discuss also on Sunday. Okay. So you must come for the test. Why? No, you prepare. That is why I am not taking class tomorrow. Plus, Saturday is there, Friday is there. Okay. Obviously, I have to do a research tomorrow of the question paper, no doubt. Okay, that will help you eventually. Okay, but you have 2 days, you can read it. Okay, you can eliminate what we have done today. Apart from that, everything else can come. नहीं उस दिन नहीं होगा, डिस्कशन हो भी सकता है, नहीं भी हो सकता, लेकिन टेस्ट तो लिखना पड़ेगा. Discussion because many classes, people have classes. So if the class would be free, I will take the discussion also. Okay, but timing 10 o'clock. People who may not be able to come at 10, if they have a class, then they will come and write after that. Okay. Or you can come together, no problem. I am not saying exactly come at 10. But you can confirm from him that, okay, which time can we come and write, but after 10 o'clock you can come and write anytime. Maybe till afternoon, 10 to 2, you come and write. But you write it. Okay, I will see the attendance sheet. Okay. And those who are absent, who are watching the video in the evening, I am telling them also that they have to write the test. Okay, without which it is useless. Okay, write a question. Do you agree that the Weber's conception of an ideal structure of bureaucracy, Weber's conception of an ideal structure of bureaucracy also presumes an ideal structure of behavior. An ideal structure of behavior. Okay. 100 words, not more. Okay. Second question. Okay. Okay. Weber's presumption of Okay, this is a very important question. You just make a star also. Weber's presumption of the bureaucrats exhibiting a desired set of behaviors. Weber's presumption of the bureaucrats exhibiting a desired set of behaviors is inimical to, inimical लिखने दो, synonymous, similar, inimical to the instrumental character of bureaucracy. Inimical to the instrumental character of bureaucracy. Inimical to the instrumental character of the bureaucracy. Comment. 150 words. Okay. Define. लिखिए. Comment 150 words. Define the following terms. Number 1. Define the following terms. क्या होता है? Inimical? No. It's not harmful. It is the sense of the terms change. Okay. It is consequential भी मान सकते हो to this, not necessarily harmful. Okay. Okay. You are if you use it, okay, literary sense, then you can say yes, it is inimical to this. ठीक है, inimical वैसा मत सोचो. ठीक है, inimical would may mean that consequently yes, there may be certain undesirable things, but not necessarily. Okay, right. Define the following. Number 1. Define the following. Number 1. Neutrality. Define the following. Neutrality. Second, occupational psychosis. Occupational psychosis. Third, iron law of oligarchy. Iron law of oligarchy. Fourth, politicization of bureaucracy. Fifth, coterie formation. Coterie formation. Coterie formation. Coterie formation within the bureaucracy. Within the bureaucracy. Okay. Now, in the first question what you have written, how will you write? First answer, what will you write?
It can be written on the lines of what type of organization, because the structure is ideal, so behavior also should be predefined so that it doesn't deviate from what the
Right, okay. What else can we write? I mean content, 1, 2, 3, 4. Can you read once the question?
Do you agree that Weber's conception of an ideal structure of bureaucracy also presumes an ideal structure of behavior?
No. So it is saying, do you agree that? So you agree, first of all, that is, it should be very clear whether you agree or not. You agree? No. Obviously, how can you agree unless you prove it? So you start, instead of agreeing first, you start with the structural characteristics of bureaucracy. Okay. Then the Weber's conception of the behavior. And why set of behaviors? Okay. So you cannot enumerate obviously all because you have not done all of them, but you take neutrality, let's say, for example. So you take the example of neutrality and then arrange or collaborate it. You can use whatever we have talked about, but you can corroborate the structure with the behavior. Okay. You can also say that, okay, the desired set of behaviors may not be instrumental or functional for the bureaucracy or society. Okay, not necessarily. Okay. Why he cannot be called as behaviorist? Okay, or why he does not come into the definition of being a behavioral, even though he talks about behavior. Okay, second question. Okay. Now see, we can assume this question. Okay, that is why this typical, I have said you star it. Okay. Like he said, it is logically certain things are correct. If I say instrument, okay, so I assume that instrument does not have any caliber of its own. So it does not have any brain of its own, any mind of its own. Okay. You read the question?
Weber's presumption of behavior is contributing a desired set of behavior to
Now see, so I can take it in two ways. Okay. Like there was a doubt. Okay. This is something tending to consequential, or it may be dysfunctional. Okay, we can understand the terms with respect to both. Tending to instrumental or dysfunctional to instrumental. So which one should we consider? No, we should, obviously we can take both the, no, we should take both. Why only one? Okay. Why can't you say that the presumption of behavioral characteristics, does it assume that bureaucracy is instrument? Yes. Tending to an instrument. Okay. But can you instrumentalize the behavior? But can you instrumentalize, can you rigidify the behavior? No. Then what? It becomes dysfunctional to the instrument. Why it becomes dysfunctional or tending to be instrumental or dysfunctional to the instrumental? Why it becomes dysfunctional to the instrumental or instrumental character? Because if you are assuming that there is a behavior, what does it mean? That there will be inherently some humanistic values or inherent humanistic traits. So you cannot make it a purely instrument. If I say you are human, now I say I want to make you a robot, convert into a robot. Or you get converted into a robot within this structure. Is it possible? No. So his presumption that there are certain sets of behaviors which within this system will become or which will be exhibited by the people robotically without any question, will it be acceptable? No. Are you understanding this or not? Okay, you have to go little bit back. Okay, social action theory, what's an approach? He's using all that. Okay, trying to understand how the society tends to create a structure of domination, approves the structure of domination. Now, if I say that the behavioral presumptions are there within the Weber, so what does it mean? That he accepts that there are certain sets of standards of behavior. That means behavior is there. He accepts that behavior is an important factor in the organization. But now he wants to what? Rigidify this behavior. Okay. Are you understanding this? So now he wants to convert this behavior into a structure. Impossible. So anywhere where there will be an acceptance of some behavioral aspect of the individuals or members of the organization, they cannot purely act as instrument. Are you understanding this? So it may, the presumption of certain sets of behavior which will be not or which will not change, it may tend to instrumental character, it may also be dysfunctional to the instrumental character. Okay. Okay. So there are certain things, okay, which Weber should have considered before assuming that there can be certain set of behaviors. Okay. So his presumption should have been that people are coming only for money. Okay. They can be easily led. Okay. They can be easily controlled. All that presumption should be there. Okay. So it does not allow for any accommodation or any liberty as far as the exercise of discretionary behavior is concerned. Okay. But the moment you recognize that people have behaviors and people may exhibit behaviors, that means what? That, they may not exhibit it also. Okay, this we can and we'll understand exactly when we study the Riggs analysis of the ecology of public administration. Okay. So we can criticize him for this purpose. So it is correct. तुम्हारा लॉजिक एक सेंस में सही है, ठीक है, लेकिन इंस्ट्रूमेंट के लिए ऑब्वियसली बिहेवियर को स्ट्रक्चर करना ही पड़ेगा. ओके, दैट हिज लॉजिक इज आल्सो इक्वली करेक्ट. बट लेटर व्हेन वी विल स्टडी बिहेवियरिज्म वी विल अंडरस्टैंड दैट Likert, Argyris, number of theorists that tried to find out that is it possible that if we develop the best structure, can we get a particular type of behavior? No. Because everybody does not come with the ambition of earning money, everybody does not come with the ambition of being controlled. Okay. And not everybody comes with the purpose of staying for a long period within one organization. So people may leave, go, leave, come, leave, come. Elton Mayo. We'll study Elton Mayo then. Okay, next question. Define the. So you'll define it with respect to this. Then second, we are talking about occupational psychosis. What will you write? Or you have first try to identify that what leads to this psychosis. So write 1 or 2 lines regarding that. That occupational psychosis is an outcome of this. Okay, it may be manifested in certain aspects. What does it mean? It means that the bureaucrats exhibiting particular kind of personal traits, okay, or perceptions or psychology towards certain things within the organization as well as the society. So public and personal sphere both are affected by this psychosis. It is like a disease state of the bureaucracy. Okay. And law of oligarchy. Okay. So you have to, don't explain the entire process, but define why it is called oligarchic and why it is the iron law. Okay, because it becomes a structure of power within the bureaucracy. Okay. Unbreakable. Politicization of bureaucracy. Okay. When the bureaucracy acts in favor of particular political ideology or the political parties or someone influenced by the ideologies, then we say it is the politicization of bureaucracy. Okay. So it may have certain consequences that also you can add. Okay. Coterie, formation of bureaucracy or within the bureaucracy. What does this mean? Same thing what we have discussed the emergence of power groups within the bureaucracy, okay, and these power groups compete with each other, and finally one emerges as the more powerful group, okay. In fact, the number of groups or emergence of number of groups itself indicate that bureaucracy is not functioning like a system. In fact, it is functioning like a puppet or the partners of various types of groups, maybe within and outside the system, aligning with one political party, with opposition, with this. Fine. Are you understanding? So you kindly go and write. Okay, obviously I'll check. Next week I'll check all your answers. Okay. And maybe we'll discuss the paper also on Monday. The UPSC paper. Okay. Our paper though we can discuss any day. But you kindly come and write on Sunday. He will convey the time, but after 10 I'll tell him, after 10:30 or 10 you can come and write. Anomaly. No, it is not an anomaly, obviously. But when we talk about today, the influence of Taylorism. So scientific management was born out of a context of industrial revolution. Okay. But today we are talking about post-industrial society. So what principles Taylor talks about? Piece rate system, okay, or for that matter, standardization of work procedure through scales, mnemonic codes, or whatever he talks, stopwatch and use of this, okay. Or even maybe staff line principle, functional foremanship and all. So that is specific things or principles, but specific things or changes which the Taylor talks about that might not be relevant today. Okay. So the scientific management coming out of the context of the need of the industrial revolution for mass production and mass consumption, that is not relevant today. Okay. But you cannot say that scientific management is not being done today also. It is being done. So Taylorism is visible today. In the form of what? Not in the form of the crude scientific management which he visualizes, but in the form of some other management or what you can say scientific management today. Okay. So it is not an anomaly. But the logic is that when we use the word scientific management, we refer to a specific era. Okay. Okay. Or scientific management of Taylor, if we say. But when we refer to Taylorism, we are not specifically referring to some era, but to the ideas or the principles on which the Taylor developed his philosophy. So mental revolution still relevant. But why will there be a need for mental revolution? So that the worker and the employer, everybody knows, they are conscious enough to understand what their benefit is. So that mental revolution which he visualizes was specifically related to that particular era where there was distrust between the workers and the management. Not today the workers' union, number of collaboration platforms are developed today. What is need of mental revolution today? Okay, today mental revolution would mean something else. Okay. So you can say, yes, we require mental revolution today. But what kind of mental revolution in industrial? Okay, maybe Equal Wages Act for men and women. Okay, maybe protection of gender at workplace. Maybe respect of gender at workplace. Restriction on crime against women at workplace. Now this is what mental revolution might be today. Okay. Okay. Today managers or owners are giving the equity shareholders to the employees and the workers. So what? A mental revolution ho chuka already. Okay. So what we are trying to say that okay, if we use the specific terms which the Taylor used, and we take the same meanings which he gave, okay, then it might not be acceptable today. So for him, standardization of work includes 1, 2, 3, 4, which may not be required today. Already there is a computer and software which does it. Okay, you need not train workers, okay, in a particular format as he decided that time. So in that way, we can say yes, it is an anomaly as far as the actual principles of the Taylors are concerned. Okay, or the specific changes he brought about in the production system then. Okay. So Taylorism is a much broader idea. Taylorism includes various other aspects. Okay, not just the principles of scientific management. Taylorism is the, you can say, is the improvement, okay, or improvement in the level of social development. Taylorism comes with that idea, that how the societies can economically prosper. Okay, if you take this idea to the societal level, so societies can economically prosper. So globalization can be considered as a manifestation of Taylorism. Because we are taking away what the idea he gave into the industry or industrial management, we are taking it away from that. And we are saying that, okay, if the world creates more surplus, then there is no poverty. Okay, now you want, so philosophically you can link it to various things. So globalization is no doubt neo-Taylorist in its approach. We'll study when we study new public management. Again, Taylor will come. Okay. But as far as this question is concerned, you can write it that way. Any other doubt? No?